The days are longer, the calendar is filling up, and I want to feel as good as this beautiful summer weather. That's why I've been loving Groons. It's one daily pack of gummies that covers my greens, vitamins, and minerals, and even has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber. So I don't need to juggle a complicated wellness routine on top of everything else. They taste amazing. They're easy to toss in my bag on the go. Plus, they're vegan, gluten-free, and HSA, FSA eligible for reimbursement. Save up to 52% off with promo code podcast at gruns.co. That's code podcast at gruns.co.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dawn Mitchell, and welcome to Dawn of Sports. Today, we're bringing back one of my favorite people, a return guest with so much to catch up on. I love this person. You know who she is, Marielle Mohs. She's a sports reporter on CBS, WCCO. She also now anchors this kick-ass podcast, Women in Sports, and it's spelled WoMN, with the MN, you know, meaning Minnesota. It's awesome, it's clever, and she is fantastic. Can't wait to get into this with, we call her Elle. You know her as Marielle. Her friends call her Elle. Elle Mohs.
Hey, Dawn.
Hey, Elle. What's going on?
I'm doing well. You can't see my face, but I was smiling from ear to ear at that awesome intro. Thank you.
Oh, well, you deserve it. I just love. How long has it been now that you've moved over from news to sports, which is a hard transition to make in mid-career? How long have you been in the sports department now?
This is my 3rd year in sports, which is crazy.
Oh my goodness.
It's flying by. But yeah, I feel like I'm just finding my groove. So it took a while to adjust to such a different angle of storytelling.
And so when people that are listening to this and they're like, well, what does that mean? We don't know that behind the scenes of TV, like a reporter should be able to report on anything. And I think people don't realize it's apples and oranges. You're working for the same company and you are telling other people's stories, but it's a whole different world, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, at the end of the day, the basic skills are the exact same. You know, I'm an MMJ, which means I shoot my own stories, conduct my own interviews, and then write and edit the stories that go on TV. So those skill sets are all the exact same, but the resource pool, the networking pool is totally different. So I basically had to start from ground zero on my contact lists, who I know. And I think the hardest part was literally navigating every different arena in town. I got so lost in the underbelly of so many stadiums.
I shouldn't laugh. I'm sorry.
No, you can only laugh because I got my 10,000 steps in every day my first season in sports.
Well, it's true. I joke around. I love our news producers that we have. And there was one of our producers, I like to tease him. And I think it was 10 or 11 in the morning and the Vikings had started early. And I think they were just starting their shift. And I said, I already have 10,000 steps in today. And he's like, what? And I go, yes, your life in the station and my life in sports is totally different. He's like, oh my word. And I'm like, no, this is good. I'm keeping track of my steps. But, you know, because I would like be talking to him while I'm walking somewhere. And he's like, you sound windy.
Right.
Maybe you need to up your workout. I'm like, dude, I already have 10,000 steps. Like I'm talking to you while I'm going to some place, right?
And we only wear sneakers in sports. You have to, because you're just on your feet so much.
You know, that is one thing that I love just recently, because I have to admit, I loved my shoes. And I would say just because recently it's been okay for women to wear sneakers with dresses and, you know, with suits. That's just a recent development. But I was on the forefront of the chunky heel boot brigade. Because you wanted a little bit of height, but there's no way on God's green earth you're going to see me in a high heel running around these stadiums, but like you still want
Mm-hmm.
to look put together. But now I'm like, bring me the Sorels, bring me the sneakers, bring me
Yep.
anything and let me be comfortable. So I thank the fashion gods that made casual cool right now and that now it's acceptable. And all the photographers who don't shoot your feet. That's the best.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I know that was the adjustment physically for you. But now
Mm-hmm.
that an MMJ, explain that to people. I know you're shooting at it. I don't have to do that, which
Mm-hmm.
PTL, praise the Lord. I think if I had
Yes.
to shoot my own video, it's bad enough when I try to shoot video on my phone for like my social media stuff. It's hard. That's really hard. First of all, carrying the equipment, making sure to lug it around, set it all up. You have to white balance, which if people
Mm-hmm.
don't know TV, that's how you set the settings on your camera with a white piece of paper. So if you're doing hockey, that's really hard because the ice sheet behind
Oh,
you is white. So
yep.
how do you manage? You weren't an MMJ when you're on the news side, were you?
I was. I've been an MMJ my whole
Oh,
career. Yes.
stop! How did I not know that
Yeah.
about you?
I have been hustling as an
I am
MMJ since day
bowing
one.
down before you. I'm
I
in
mean, granted,
I am not worthy category right now. Wow.
granted, I got a photographer a lot more in news because I'd be telling stories that put me in a more dangerous or precarious position, whether it was a protest or, um, you know, just something where I'm in a more dangerous setting. But
Hmm.
I worked with photographers more often then. But in sports, I almost never work with a photographer unless I'm live at a game on the court. Usually with you side by side. That's when I get to
That's
see you.
right, right. That's
So
why
those
I
are the
always
rare
assumed that
moments.
I always assumed you had a photographer because those are the moments where I really kind of see you. So, wow, even more
Yeah.
kudos to you because, trying to look good, get your work done and then haul
Yeah.
all that equipment around and then get it set up. And thank goodness you don't have
Hmm.
to go live because I see some
Yeah.
young reporters going live through their cameras by themselves. That's
Yeah.
hard.
That I don't know how they do. I've never done that before and I never want to. But it's tough and it's hard work because it's just so many steps and you can't forget something or it's going to throw off the whole piece, whether that's your battery, your SD card, which records everything, or just something can go out of focus and you don't notice because you're by yourself. So all these things, you have a lot more risk factors of things going wrong. But at the end of the
Mhm.
day, I love having total control over my story and I'm really proud when it airs, knowing that I did everything from start to finish.
Well, one thing I have always admired about your work, and if I was not in this business, I would be a writer, probably novels and books. Like I was a reading
Mm,
geek growing up. Like, yes, I played sports.
love
I have
it.
four brothers, but when I wasn't growing up, if I wasn't playing sports, I was reading. We lived across the street from a library in Duxbury, Massachusetts, and I literally won the summer reading contest when I was in third grade. So it was crazy. Like,
Cute.
I know, like I was that girl,
I
right? But I
love
lived across
that.
the street, so I kind of had the advantage. I just would go over and read, then give a little book report. You had to give the verbal report of what the book was. I still have the book that I got as the reward for winning that. I'll have to show you. I'll take a picture and
I
send
would
it
love
to you.
that.
It's called Noisy Nora. That's how little I was, but I'm a reading geek, and I would say in my adult life, one of my sad things is I don't have enough time to read as much as I was like. But being like into reading, and I thought I'd be a writer. What I love about you, and you've transitioned it to sports, and not many people can do that, but I loved your writing. Especially that caught my
Mm,
eye when I didn't even know you as how you crafted your news story, even if it was a tough news story. But when I see everything that you do in sports, whether you're doing a one-on-one interview or a story, your writing comes across, Elle. And I just want to let you know, as a fellow writing geek and sports lover, that is so appreciated because sports writing is and even news writing, you have to take your thought and be like, okay, that's a great thought. How do I say that in 5 seconds?
mm.
It's always hard to convey. But you do
Yes.
such a beautiful job at that, Elle.
Thank you so much, Don. That really means a lot. Writing is hands down my favorite part of the process of telling a story. So
Mm.
I put a lot of effort into it. And I have to give a shout out to Bill Hudson, who is a WCCO reporting legend. I thankfully got to overlap with him when I started for about a year. And he gave me a great advice. He said, pretend like every word is worth $1. And he
Oh,
goes, and he's like, there's a ton of value in every single word. So don't waste it. And it helped me just write more efficiently and effectively and remind myself that every word has a purpose and a value to it. So that really helped me.
I really love that. I always live by the ilk, like words matter,
Mm-hmm.
like even when people say, oh, they didn't mean to say that, even in my personal life, no, words matter. Like, so choose your words. How you speak to yourself matters, so I
Mm-hmm.
love that. Imagine
Yes.
every word is worth $1. Because in sports, literally, they'd be like, all right, you got a minute and a half, maybe for this whole
Oh,
hit, including your
yes.
intro and your out, right? So like take 30
Yep.
seconds off the top right there. You have a minute to tell this story. How has that challenge been for you
Exactly.
sports wise?
Oh my gosh, it's been really tough because in news we would get a little bit more luxury. Like we could say, hey, I got a really good interview. Could I please have 2 minutes on this story or more? And in sports, like I work with Mike Max and he is just like, he has a 3 minute sports block and he's like, Elle, you have a minute 10 to tell a story. And it's so tough because I want to get into beyond the stats. I want to talk about this athlete's or this coach's personal life. And it's just so hard to
Mm-hmm.
get into all of that in a minute 10. But that advice from Bill has never been more helpful in really choosing, like, okay, I have a minute to tell this story. What is the most important thing I got to get across?
Right.
And it really helps. But that's been tough for sure. A
Yeah.
tough
And
adjustment.
it really helps when you're going through your sound, like if you, and for those listening, we say, oh, what kind of sound do you have? It's obviously when you interview someone. So if you're in a locker room and you're interviewing 5 people and you know full well, listen, I can't use all 5 of them, right? You look for
Right.
the money bite. Like, what's the money bite that I'm crafting my story around with? And then you start with that, but you still have to bridge it with your own words. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm saying. Kudos to you on that. Have you loved though? You've loved that challenge, I would imagine, of trying to do your craft now in such a shorter time period.
Yes, I have really loved the challenge. I think what's been hard is learning it in real time. For example, I'll never forget when I was in New York covering the Lynx and the Liberty in game 5 last year of the WNBA finals. As a news reporter, I'm so used to kind of this lengthy setup and then getting to the story. But
Mm-hmm.
as we all know, the Lynx lost, and Cheryl Reeve, the head coach, went off on the reffing
Yeah.
in her presser. And I kind of did this long, like, okay, like, here's how the game went. Here were kind of the highlights and the lowlights and everything. And okay, now I'm going to get to Cheryl's sound. And when I got back, Mike Max gave me great advice. And he just said, Cheryl's, like, Cheryl's grievances over the reffing is the whole point of the story. We already know
That's the
who lost
lead,
and
right?
won. And so
Yeah.
he's like, you got to get to it immediately. And so now I know, but it's been really hard to learn in real time under like really high pressure events like a WNBA final. But
Yeah.
I love it. I love, love, love it. It's just been, it keeps me on my toes. It's, you can't, what I've learned in sports is like, yes, it's important to be like following along and paying attention during the game, but you can't like pre-write your story. The story
Nope,
can change at
never.
any point. And
Mm-hmm.
that has been exciting. I think you know this, but I used to take improv classes. And
Yes.
my improv skills have had to be put to use in sports because you always have to improv on the fly and work off
Mm-hmm.
what's been given to you. You cannot pre-plan.
No, and what we always say is in sports, it's always breaking news. And
Yes.
and people are like, well, what do you mean? I go, it's always breaking news. Like a news person might have to handle a change to their story at the last minute very few times. And I always admire them because they're out in dangerous territory and like they do what I could not do. I admire news reporters so much because I don't know how I would be able to knock on the door of someone's home who just lost their children to gun violence. You know, like
Hmm.
whenever I see that, I'm like, I am in awe of that person to handle their emotions, to get the sound, to get that done. Um, and but breaking news is different, and I think anchors sometimes have to deal with it more. You know, like the producer would be
Yes.
in their ear. You know, like, hey, we got a fire downtown. We're changing the lead. We're coming to you now, and so the anchors do it. So in sports, though, every day is a breaking news event, not of horrifying things, but the
Hmm.
score changes, or someone wins or loses, or you're doing your live shot and the game's not over, you know?
Right.
So like you can hear the roar of the crowd and you're like, you know, so you're hoping that the producer says what's in your head, you know, or even when you're
Right.
anchoring, you're not even there. Like if I'm anchoring, thank goodness for cell phones now. I'm in the middle of like the Timberwolves highlights and I'll look down and I'll be like, finally I'll call it up on my app and I'll be like, and right now they just took the 2 point lead, but everything is changing and breaking and doing that all the
Hmm.
time. So
Which is a
sometimes,
thrill.
yes, sometimes like it can get to you, but most of the times, like me, if you're an adrenaline junkie, you thrive off
Hmm.
it. Are you beginning to kind of get that drip of adrenaline?
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
my One of my favorite feelings is when it's like Timberwolves playoff basketball and all the stations are in the lobby and the game is still going on and we're like running back and forth between the lobby for our live shots and the Lexus Club so we could just like hear the crowd react and it's like
Yeah.
2 seconds left but you know that all the timeouts are being used. It's just like the biggest thrill and you get to be the first one in that moment to report on the win or loss and obviously it's been a lot of wins for the Wolves in playoffs, which has been so fun. And then to have that crowd rush behind you, and it's so thrilling, and I love it.
And I say the obviously my friends back home would be like, okay, what was going on in your head at that point? Like they said, like when you were in the locker room talking to Justin Jefferson after blah 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 loss or something like that. And I said, to be honest with you, I was listening with one ear, asking him a question, and I was also my brain was split because in my ear I was listening to our Fox Network post game show because I knew as soon
Mm,
as that was over, our post game show hit, and I was live off the top. So I really wasn't paying attention to anybody else. You know, they'd be like, what was the emotion of the reporters? I'm like, I barely remember what I asked him, you know,
hmm.
like if you were inside my brain for that half hour span, you might call for the straitjacket for me, you know, like I think that's the one thing working in sports when you're live, right? You really have to split your brain in half many times, don't you?
100%. Yeah, it's a lot of just you learn so quickly. You have no choice but to learn how to compartmentalize and cut the background noise out, and focus. But it's a lot of blacking out. Like I can't tell you exactly what happens on massive game days or post game.
Oh yeah, somebody you'll be like, okay, you just were in the locker room, you're talking, you know, that all of a sudden you're like about to go live, you're like, what was the score? What was the final score? Oh, here's my notes. Thank God I wrote it down because, and people are like, what? What's wrong with you? It's like, no, you don't know what my brain, the gymnastics I just went through in the past 10 minutes. Like,
Right, right.
you know, texting your producer, making sure you're on time, getting your graphics in, making sure it's spelled right, and you're doing all of that. So one reason why I wanted to have you on the podcast today, because now you have this enormous opportunity. And it's so, I wanted to set the table with what you do for sports news wise, because when you go to the podcast realm, that is like shutting the door on your
Mm.
condo and entering a whole different world, right? Like, or your house, like
Yes.
you're leaving your house. This is my news house. And now I'm going out into the wild in a different way because it's long form and
Hmm.
it's one-on-one. It can be whatever you make it. So I want to congratulate you on, first of all, the podcast, and second of all, how has that different world been for you?
Oh, well, thank you so much. We just launched in October at the very end of the month. And so we're probably 4 episodes in that have come out, but we've recorded through the end of the year. And it has been so fun. I have told multiple people I wish this could be my full-time job. Um, getting to know athletes and coaches and just women in the sports world on a deeper level and watching their body language just relax and talking to them so freely is such a gift. I'm obsessed with it. I'm like, for example, we had Taylor Heisey as our second guest of the podcast.
Who's
And
fantastic.
she is
Oh
so
my goodness.
fantastic.
Yes.
She's just the best conversationalist. She's so
Yeah.
sweet. But every time I've interviewed her, it's always been either like media day right before the season, the frost season's about to start, or it's after a game when all we're talking about is the results of that game and what they're looking forward to or preparing for next game. So we're just so limited on what we can talk about. And it was a blast to have her come in and hear that she loves to cook and hear where she shops at the Mall of America and how she's prepping for her wedding to Parker Fox. And that was just so fun for me to just sit back and get to know her as a real person.
And it is because, like you said, it's such a relaxed kind of situation where they can be themselves, where sometimes they're coming right off competition or they get ready for it, or they just get in that different mode, like a different mindset. And we're in a different mindset. So to be able to peel back the curtain and then to be able to do it for things that you're passionate about, to actually have that focus, just like I wanted to hear, to kind of open up what it's like for women. What has that meant for you personally to kind of have that focus on women in sports, and specifically in Minnesota?
Yeah, it feels like, as a former student athlete myself who grew up in the state, it feels like I'm doing what I wish I would have seen when I was an athlete. Like, I saw zero media coverage at any of my dance competitions, any of my lacrosse games. And I saw it all go to boys football and boys hockey, which is deserved, of course. But I just did not see it spread, the love spread across all the other sports. And it's just, to me, this feels like my way of returning the favor to what I wish I would have seen when I was growing up. And it's a great gift to be able to amplify these young women, and some cases women who are retired from the sport, but they never got the chance to talk in this way about what they love. And now they're getting to, after the fact. We just interviewed Natalie Darwitz, which she, of course, has received a lot of attention being an Olympian. But yeah, I think it was probably nice for her to talk about growing up as a kid, and her parents tried to force her into dance classes. And she was like, I just want to skate. And she was the only ponytail out on the ice. And it was just, she doesn't get to have those interviews as often as her male counterparts. So it just feels good to be able to do that.
Exactly. I like how you say that she doesn't get that opportunity that often because, first of all, it's limited in terms of resources at many TV stations, many newspapers. So it's not in those places. And I just kind of want to, defend our profession just for a little bit. It's not for a lack of them wanting to, right? Sometimes it's like, we have 3 people today, and we've got the Vikings, the Timberwolves, and the Wild playing, all in big games. Someone's got to stay back and edit. So we can only, we'll record those 2 games. We can only send one crew. So that's the reality when it comes to covering those things. So the last thing is that what we, and it shouldn't, and this is why it was always considered like a luxury, right? Like it's a luxury to do a quote unquote evergreen story. And I think what people are finding now is, like, in bosses and everyone else, they like that luxury, right? They're seeking that. And the players are open to that. That's what I've really enjoyed seeing, like the longer form people want to get into. They don't just want the little bits. I mean, they want a little bit more. They want a little more meat on the bone. You found that, right?
I have definitely found that people are actually enjoying this, and this is something that they crave. Annie Kelby, who is the producer I work with on the podcast, she's also the producer of the 4:00 newscast. She has said that what she's noticed after every guest leaves the podcast studio when we're done talking to them, they all comment how much fun they had. And we're like, that is the goal. We want them to come here and have this be fun. It's not a chore. It's not a media responsibility that they have to fulfill. They should be having fun. And that's the whole goal.
All right, we're going to hit a break because I have so much more to ask Elle Mohs. I want to kind of dig a little. She touched on it, her dancing life and her lacrosse life. And you even had a chance to touch on a lot of parts of sports that don't even get any coverage, like the dance team. And you've spoken to some cheerleaders. So when we come back from this break, we have to hear from our sponsors. We're going to hear more from Elle Mohs. Don't go away.
Today, I want to talk a little bit about the Minnesota Masonic Charities. When you think about the Masons, I get it. You think about the funny hats, those pancake breakfasts, which are phenomenal. My dear friend John Schweitz and I have chatted about this, and it's so much more than that. They've got the Masonic home over in Bloomington. They've got the hospital for the children over at the U of M. They are the largest fraternal organization in terms of charitable needs in our country, and they deserve a ton of recognition. So thank you, Minnesota Masonic Charities, for all you do and for supporting us over here at Talk North, and a special thanks to my good friend, John Schweitz.
So we're back with Elle Mohs from CCO, WCCO. I know we just say CCO in the biz. WCCO, yeah. Her new podcast is Women in Sports, which I have loved because we were just talking on the first side of the break how the athletes and you are loving the longer form. And you had a chance to also delve into what you love. I mean, you and I both are former dancers growing up, but like the Gopher dance team, and you get to talk to some of the cheerleaders. So that's kind of an aspect of a subset. You have to be an athlete to dance. I'm sorry, like it's a physical
Correct.
Performance. To give those women some love, how has that been for you?
That has been beyond the most rewarding part of switching to sports, is how much coverage we've been able to give to dance at every level, high school, college, and pro. I am so thankful that CCO believes in me pursuing this coverage, so much so that they've sent me to Orlando, Florida to cover college dance nationals. And they're sending me again this January. I am so excited.
How has the feedback been on that? It must be enormous.
It's really been incredible. I think when it first began, I told the story of the U of M dance team, the Gopher dance team, the year they were double national champions, which I think was 2022. And I hadn't even switched to sports yet. I just said, this team is the most decorated athletics team at the U of M. We have to cover this. So after they got back from competing, I went to Williams Arena, interviewed them, and the story remained top on our website for a week, which, as you know, Dawn, like in news and sports, everything is a 24-hour shelf life.
Yeah.
My news director was like, how is this still the number one story a week later? And I'm like, because like for so long, this subsect of athletes received zero attention. And it really stood out to my news director at the time. And that's kind of what led her to putting me in our sports department. And ever since then, the feedback has been outstanding. When I went to Orlando, I had so many parents coming up to me last year telling me, like, thanks for being here. Like, this means the world to have our dancers get this attention. And what blew my mind is when I reached out to ESPN and Disney to get a credential, they were like, we've never had a local news station cover this event ever. I was like, wow. What? So there was literally no blueprint for media coverage. They didn't know like what to do. So they like printed me out a paper credential and put it in a little plastic thing for me to carry around for 2 days. And they had to escort me everywhere because there wasn't a media holding space. I had to use the same, like I didn't have anywhere to work. Like I had to sit in the stands with my laptop where the rest of the audience was watching the competition, logging and doing my story because there was just nowhere else for us to go. And they just weren't prepared because they had never had media coverage. And that just blew my mind that a competition that's been going on since 1980 had never had a reporter come cover it.
I think because I would just say this is my feelings. I don't have any stats to back it up. It's kind of one of those genres that can fall into, remember, growing up when I was there were arts and entertainment reporters at TV stations, right?
Yeah.
And so dancing is kind of an art, it's
Yes.
like, but as well as being physical, but I bet you the mindset dance wasn't a sport per se, because it was more arts and entertainment. And sometimes when you're on the edge of two things converging, yes, it's an art form. Yes, they're athletes that are dancing, but it falls in the cracks, right?
100%. And I think that's so true, that for so long it was viewed as an art form. I even think when I was growing up dancing, I
Yeah.
kind of said like, oh, I'm in the arts. And
Yeah.
I didn't
And
view
it
it
still
quite as
is.
a
It's an
sport.
art form to dance. It's, it is. But the people performing, it's just like I've had this conversation with other people when it comes to race car. They're like, those aren't athletes, they're drivers. I'm like, well, they are the physical human performing this, act. So it's a sport. So
Yeah. And they're
it's
training
those
in the
different
weight room
ones.
just like every athlete is.
Yeah, it's a fringe. It's or not even fringe anymore. It's just you have to open up your mind to what an athlete is, and that's what you're
Correct.
doing. So you're on the forefront of opening people's minds.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Don't you
hoping
think?
too. I know that at the end of the day, you can't say a dancer and an NHL player are the same, because they're vastly different muscles being used and the training is totally different. But at the same time, like, these are athletes that are going into the weight room just as much as any other athlete is. The skill set it takes is so specialized, and it takes very extreme talent to make these high level college teams. And I just wish that someday down the line, I hope that they can receive college scholarships just like any other NCAA athlete can. That's not my place to make that call, but I just hope that by being part of coverage of it and bringing it to the forefront, I can play a small role in helping make that change happen someday.
So there isn't any scholarships for them?
No, because they're technically not NCAA sanctioned sports yet.
Oh, okay. Because
Yeah.
when I went to college, I know that the woman that was the baton twirler got a free ride at our
Really? Well, maybe
school.
like
Yeah.
through band, they could get a
Yeah, maybe through
scholarship.
band. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so
But
again, it's falling through the cracks, right? It needs
right, it falls through
exposure,
the
right?
cracks.
Like Cheryl
Right.
Reeve always says, you need exposure, right? You need a light to be shined or shown, or whatever the proper term is right now. You need to shine a light on
Right.
these athletes, these women that are doing incredible things. And once you do, you'll be fascinated with the people who love it. And just like Cheryl
Yes.
said, they've always been there. You're just finding out that they've been there, and they're so appreciative of that.
Yes. Yeah. So
What dance did you do? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, you're good. I competed in every form of dance when I was little. I did ballet, tap, jazz, lyrical. Really took ballet seriously. That was probably my biggest form or style that I poured myself into. And then once I hit high school, I switched to my high school dance team, which was just jazz and high kick. And it was a huge transition letting go of ballet, but I just really wanted to be involved in my school. And I felt very disconnected being at a dance studio, and I wanted to make friends. And I thought that was the easiest way to do it. And once I made the switch, I never regretted it. It was so much fun. I competed for Benilde St. Margaret's dance team, and I'm
Oh,
still best friends with those girls today. And we go back to state every year, and we watch it and root for the Red Knights, but also have a blast, like running back and forth between the AAA side and the AA side and watching all the schools. And it's so fun. I still love it.
And I want people that are listening to realize too, like I danced all the way through high school. In college, I would come back and maybe do a couple of shows with the local dance troupe in my hometown. But I got into more sports and away from it. We didn't have a dance team at my high school. So I wonder, I played soccer, basketball, and track, but there was no dance teams, right? So I'm like, oh, I wonder what that would have been like. And even at college, Boston College didn't have a dance team. So it was just the cheerleaders. And I wonder how that would have changed any course of what I did. But what I did realize is that the training of dancing helped me immensely in my sports. Like when I was in high school, the athletic director knew I danced with his daughter, and their high jumper left. And he was like, do you know how to high jump? And I'm like, I have no idea. He goes, well, I've seen you dance and you can jump. So see that bar over there? Get over it. And I'm like, how? He's like, I don't care how. It was a metal bar. He didn't even put the plastic one up there. It was like the old school, like triangle metal ones. So I scissor kicked over it, and I got it. He goes, you're our high jumper. And he literally gave me a printout sheet of the Fosbury flop and said, study it, we'll work on this tomorrow. That's how I became the high jumper, because he knew I could dance.
Wow, and I love that.
It's just incredible, and that's always helped me. And my dance teacher, when I would go through injuries for sports, I had torn ligaments, and different various injuries just playing sports. And I remember she would take the extra time to do some extra stretching with me and wrapping, and she goes, listen, if you don't want to have clumpy leg muscles, we got to stretch these out, And so the two of them married together was extremely helpful for me, and was a large part of my life. And I love how you said that you were still close friends with all of the people you dance with. When I go to Seattle for the Seahawks, I'll see my old friend. Her mom was my dance teacher. I don't think I've seen her since right. We danced together, and now she's actually in a band and a Pilates instructor and tours the world. But so she lives in Seattle. So those bonds, because dance is just more like you have to do it together. It's a team sport. Even though you have your individual performance, you're part of a bigger orchestrated thing. So in many ways, it is a team mentality. Don't you believe?
Yeah, it really is. And I think that's why, to this day, I still see dance have a through line in my life.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, when I started playing lacrosse in high school in the spring during the off season, I saw my ability to run and have like a wider stride and, be quick on my feet. All of that I credit to dance. And then as I've gotten older and I'm not in sports anymore, like I do yoga and bar classes where I'm still actively using my dance foundations to work out and stay in shape today. And then with storytelling, as a dancer, you're telling a story without words with your body. There's a beginning, middle, and end.
Absolutely.
You're trying to draw emotion out of people when you dance. And I feel like as a journalist, I'm doing that today. Like and also as a journalist, I'm part of a team. I'm part of the WCCO team, but I'm also part of the sports department at WCCO. And being part of that team mentality, like that started in my dance days.
Oh, well, Elle, I am so proud of all the work you've done. I can't believe you've been there 3 years already. Kind of remember when you were first not even making that transition into the sports department, and to see how you're making it your own, and you don't have to do just the traditional. You're basically helping cross these barriers and break down these barriers and say, hey, listen, I want to do the dance team. I want to do this other thing. So my hat's off to you. What would you say to anyone that is thinking about maybe getting into sports and be like, well, I really just want to tell women's stories. We're seeing ESPNW, right? We see what you do. And some women are shying away from that because they don't think it could be, the niche that they can do, but you're proving everyone wrong that that's what you can do. What would you say to them?
I would just say that there are so many sports and so many athletes out there with untold stories, and tap into those untapped markets. And it could really change your career and change the trajectory of what you're passionate about. I struggled so much when I first switched to sports to find my footing, because my colleagues in WCCO Sports have been covering the Vikings, Twins, Timberwolves, Wild for decades, and they had their lock on those teams. And I just said, what teams aren't being covered? And that's how I found my path. And anyone can do that. There are so many untapped sports. I mean, talk about like professional volleyball is just getting off the ground and rolling. Like, that's a great area. If that's a sport you love, jump on that now, because you're going to be getting in at the ground level. And there's just so many opportunities. They're endless in sports.
Well, Elle, thank you so much. I love every single time I get to see you.
Me too.
Continue this awesome writing and storytelling. And I just wish that people that are listening to this knew you as a person, because as tremendous as you are as a reporter and a storyteller and a journalist, you're an even better human. So thank you so much for coming on and telling your story today.
Thanks for having me, Dawn. And thanks for just being like such a champion of women in the sports industry. You've been such a asset to me, and I appreciate you every time that I get to work with you. You've helped me a lot. So thank you.
Well, I'm not going anywhere, girl. So neither are you.
Good.
There we are. We're in it together.
Love it.
Awesome. Thanks, Elle.
Thanks, Dawn.